opportunity, and I stress the word efficiency rather than cut, to save around £300,000 by streamlining the refuse collection bin round by 2 from 25 in total to 23. What a wonderful opportunity which we fully supported on this side of the chamber. Cross-party and without doubt, all councillors want a good refuse collection service for their residents, which they rightly deserve and pay for. For many residents, it should be borne in mind this is the only visible frontline service they see from their council each week. So on the face of it, all the boxes were ticked. Cost savings of £300,000 to benefit our residents who are council taxpayers. A cost benefit to Thurrock Council to save the need for equivalent tax elsewhere in these financially strapped times. And a more streamlined service for our staff, who, may I add, have done a superb job over the past few weeks. So a win, win, win. So what, Mr Mayor, could possibly go wrong? Firstly, at the budget stage, it was realised that when starting the formal process for overview and scrutiny and Cabinet, that in reality to achieve £300,000 savings, which had been factored into the overall council budget, it would be necessary to reduce the rounds by 4 rather than 2. This was due to some fixed costs which had been initially overlooked. Then there was the distribution of postcards to residents advising details of the change, with the proud slogan boasting same service, different day. Many residents in reality did not get a card at all. 20% of Thurrock residents got a card telling them that it was a different day, albeit that it was actually the same day. And finally, to the collection rounds. We were told to expect teething problems while the new system beds in. Absolutely no problem with that. However, the reality is quite to the contrary. We are now in week 8 since implementation. Over the past 2 weeks, and on the council's own website, published data, which on occasions has been challenged for underreporting, an average of 100 roads have been missed each day.
This pales into insignificance when I have a resident phone me to tell me her mother, who sadly is incontinent and living with her, and has not had her bin emptied for 2 weeks, and because they could not store it any longer in their small courtyard because of the smell, it had to be put out on the front, full to see and smell. The poor woman was distraught.
This motion has even been put, it's personal and it's unpleasant. I know Councillor Holloway, and she's a very hard-working, intelligent and conscientious member, and I find this unpleasant, the atmosphere, and I don't think it's even necessary. We have to make these savings. The government have been enforcing the savings on us, and they haven't worked as well as we'd like. We understand that. We understand they haven't worked as well as we like, but things will improve, things will get better.
I speak on behalf of my own ward at the moment, of the Thurrock Blackshots. The fiasco of the change of day to the bin collection has led to my residents not knowing whether to leave their bin out or take it back in. Brown bins in my area have been out for 7 weeks now, and my own bin has not been collected for 7 weeks. It's still there. It's a
shame when we have to bring these type of issues to the full council, but it only becomes necessary when we have a fiasco on our hands, and that's where the problem really is. The last couple of meetings we've had a mutual exchange between Councillor Wootton and Councillor Holloway, where in fact we're saying, well, they're agreeing on so many things, you know, it was quite good. But this is one of those areas, maybe the 10% referred to, that it's obvious that we disagree on. Why do we disagree on it? Even the portfolio holder agrees that Chafford 100 has been one of those exceptional areas with quite a few problems, a bit worse than the rest of the borough, I might add. It's a shame that the radio coverage today was that Chafford has been built over a long time, and therefore that's why there are problems in Chafford. I thought Chafford was one of the newest areas in the community, therefore it should be relatively easier to deal with. I've had over 250 emails going back and forth from residents to the team about problems.
That's the same, Mr Mayor. I don't know if there's a hotline to Councillor Tories, the Tories telephone. I haven't received one telephone call from my residents to say that their bins have been missed. I would say that our bins were not perfect and the picking up of our bins is still not perfect, but there doesn't seem to be a hotline to all the councillors to report that their bins
101 complaints. In our own area, it's been very bad in the last 3-4 weeks. One horror story is a resident phoned me up 3 times. I finally got through to the depot to tell him that his road hasn't been collected. And the one guy who complained, when I came back, was the only guy who didn't get it empty. He wasn't very happy.
Most of us, I think, have had complaints. All of us would know the concern of the recent failures in the refuse service. Councillor Wootton's starting by saying that this is one of those frontline services that is received by just about everybody in the borough. And you know, you tamper with it, you get it wrong at your peril, and we have to acknowledge that this has not been anywhere near as smooth as any of us would have liked. You know, myself, I think Alpin has been missed twice. It was missed last week for the second time. Councillor Wootton suggested that there was no review of this plan. I have to say that there is an overview and scrutiny review was always scheduled for February. That was written in at the beginning, and that, as I understand it, is still on course. Councillor Little suggested that people have been called away from grass cutting 20 bins. That is categorically not the case. Don't know where that came from. But Mr Mayor, I don't want to give anybody the impression at all that we are in any way complacent about this. The implementation is being constantly reviewed by the team. Changes are being made to the way the grounds are configured and the way the bins are collected in order to try and get it right. And you know, I have to say that I just don't see how changing the team that is implementing the new round at this time will do anything at all to help resolve the problem more quickly. So I do have confidence in Lucy and John, and I have confidence in Victoria to get on top of this and get the job done. And I have to say, if I didn't have that confidence, I wouldn't be waiting for a motion at council to do something about it.
It works, albeit it doesn't work. And I think this, and only this, is where we're asking for the portfolio holders to stand down, because they may be very conscientious, but a conscientious portfolio holder will be up there leading this and telling us what is going on. Personally, I've sent at least 4 emails to Councillor Holloway, including in that the officers. The only people that ever replied to me were the officers, and I thank them. They've done a very good job on it. My own bins, I think were only ever collected on the first week. Since that, they're out there 2 days at least. It's making the place look untidy.
My concern with this is that it appears to be entirely self-inflicted. The administration have proposed these changes, the administration have pushed these changes through. These changes have not been successful in the form that they were put through, and we're seeing no trend of improvement in the figures. And anybody who wants to go look on the council's website can see that, contrary to what Councillor Kent said, there is no real trend of improvement there. I believe the number of missed roads was worse this week than last week, in fact. The thing that's concerning me is the calls from the opposite side of the chamber that it is somehow completely out of order to hold the portfolio holder accountable for all of this. At the end of the day, local people elect us, and they elect an administration to lead the council's services, to lead the council's operations on their behalf. And they want to know that when things go well, there is somebody who is going to claim the credit, and I'm sure plenty of people will be happy to step forward and do that when things go well. And when things go badly, there is somebody who's going to step forward and accept responsibility for it. So these statements are being made that it is somehow in principle wrong to try and hold a portfolio holder to account for what is clearly a bodged and unsuccessful initiative in terms of what we've seen it so far, or that portfolio holder is somehow so disconnected from the service that they are supposed to be leading that they cannot be considered to be responsible for operational matters, is wrong. And it's
I'm saddened to hear of individual cases, of course, and I must admit myself there have been times when I too haven't had my bin collected. But I do want to put this change into perspective for everybody. It's affected 64,000 houses, and it means I'm collecting 150,000 bins from 1,500 roads, about 4,500 roads considering the 3 streams. Councillor Anderson, I'm sorry to say that you are actually wrong in that the numbers of missed bins have gone down, the numbers of missed roads have gone down, and the numbers of complaints have also gone down. I think the service is clearly getting there. I am still unhappy that it's not perfect, to any resident is not right. I fully accept that in some areas we have underestimated the size of the challenge that we've been dealing with. And in order to ensure the best service, this has meant that we've gone over, we've looked at the routes, we've looked at the areas that are challenging, many of them that have been raised by the councillors tonight. And it means that we are changing routes about, we are taking action, we are changing some of the routes, which means that there might be a change of a few collections. We'll see changes to their collection day. The managers are clear on what they need to do, the workforce are clear on what they need to do, and I am clear of my role to maintain the weekly service that residents want and at the same time deliver £300,000 worth of saving needed to help this council.
Those in favour of the motion?